Amazon, for me personally, it's been the best of both worlds. Had I had the opportunity to work at Amazon and then do my startups, I believe we would have been even more successful. If you look at RBS, our charter is to act as the last line of defense and the protector of customer experience.
How do you build that culture where you're able to get all of the teams together?
Gen Z is a large population that we need to cater to. If you're going to build your future leaders, it's going to come from Gen Z.
What are one or two things that you specifically look for?
Are you a problem solver? The world needs problem solvers. We need problem solvers. Amazon is truly one of those organizations that gives you that freedom to try, experiment. And the best part is, in Amazon, all those draining parts is taken care of.
Welcome to another episode of Amazon Unplugged. Our guest today has been at Amazon for over 10 years. In the last 10 years, he's been trailblazing through complexities of retail world, turning challenges into opportunities and ideas into realities for Amazon. Please welcome Sridhar Kulasekharan, Director of Retail Business Services, Amazon, and also the sponsor for Amazon PWD Affinity Group in India. The vision for RBS is to accelerate Amazon's flywheel by improving customer and brand experiences across Amazon. Sridhar has had a rich and varied career spanning over 30 years. He started as a research scientist. Following this, he reinvented himself as a serial entrepreneur, building tech startups that developed and supported products in enterprise software, banking, and telecom domains. Thank you for joining us today, Sridhar. So, as a research scientist predicting weather models, did you also get a chance to go into the field? It reminds me of those movies that I see, the storm chasers, you're going in the field and, did you get that opportunity as well?
Yes. Working in Oklahoma in the climate survey, the entire crowd is a bunch of storm chasers. So
Wow.
We used to chase storms. There have been some really close calls as part of chasing the storms, and it's one thing to see it in the TV and things like that, but completely different experience when you really experience it.
Wow.
It's like a train rushing at you and the ground is shaking, and when you look at the size of it, there is no comparison. It's immense, it's huge, it's devastating. One of the things that you don't want anybody to experience.
Yeah, I'm sure. Only in the movies it looks so fascinating, but in reality, we are nobody in front of Mother Nature. So Sridhar, from a research science to entrepreneurship and then Amazon, tell us a little about your journey before Amazon.
Went to the US for my master's in computer science, and the area that I picked up was large-scale scientific computing, and that led me to a research opportunity as part of my work to solve problems in the weather space. The challenge that is there is it took us 4 hours of compute on a 512 processor Cray to compute 3 hours ahead of time. So I enjoyed the impact that I was driving, and before I knew it was 10 years. When I started looking for something else, I had a couple of opportunities. Amazon was happenstance.
But when you look at your learnings from the entrepreneurial stint to how Amazon operates, what do you see are some of the similarities, and how are you using all of those learnings from being an entrepreneur to how Amazon operates today, and how you bring it to the table?
One of my biggest fears coming into Amazon is, in the startup world, you have a lot of freedom, you have a lot of liberty. I grew up in an environment where I thrived on the opportunity to experiment, to learn, to try new things and figure out what works and make it happen. I was worried I would lose that in a corporate like Amazon, but to my pleasant surprise, that never happened. Amazon is truly one of those organizations that gives you that freedom to try, experiment, and the best part is, in Amazon, all those draining parts is taken care of. You don't need to worry about that. And that is extremely empowering for you. All you need to do is think of the customer, figure out what the problem is, figure out what's the best solution, experiment, try, learn, and drive, and the impact that you have of your solves, the blast radius is phenomenal, and that's also extremely invigorating. So I would say Amazon, for me personally, it's been the best of both worlds.
So you've spent about 10 years at Amazon. You've done varied roles from being a technical program manager to now running retail business services across multiple countries. Tell us a little more about what RBS as a business does and what are the problems they're trying to solve.
If you look at RBS, our charter is to act as the last line of defense and the protector of customer experience. That's our primary charter. And the reason is store's business is extremely complex with a multitude of highly interconnected, complex systems all working together to meet our customer experience needs. And what happens is each of these systems, they're all highly resilient, highly accurate, and they operate at 99.9% efficiencies and accuracy. But when something has to pass through 10 systems, and each of them is operating at 99.9%, and when you're processing billions of data, the defect rate is in the millions. So our role is to figure out how to prevent that. So to do that, we have set ourselves under 3 focus areas. The first one is a team business unit that focuses from selection creation and then making sure the selection is searchable, discoverable, buyable, and fast track. So that's one team. The second team focuses on the buying experience part of it. When you come to our website and when you're looking to buy a product, does the product have all the required information for you to make the right buying decision? And post buying it, did the product really meet the purpose for which you bought? Or did you have to return it and things like that? So we look at the buying experience part of it. And the third one is helping our vendors and selling partners succeed on our platform. So those are the 3 focus areas that we have.
So you spoke about all of the challenges and of course, there are opportunities. So when you look at how you and your teams are trying to solve for those challenges, how do you ensure the balance between experience versus speed? And how do you ensure that at the end of the day, the speed doesn't get compromised and of course, you have a quality? Because sometimes it can go, in opposite directions. If you have to move fast, you will have to slow down to ensure that accuracy is also a factor.
It's baked in our leadership principles, right? What you're talking about is our classic struggle between bias for action and dive deep.
Right.
Also being able to take right a lot calls. So that's a constant struggle. There is no silver bullet for this. You need to be watching out. Sometimes, again, if you go to machine learning, is it precision or recall, right? So if you want to cover more, you need higher recall, but if you want precision, then recall will suffer. Same balance is there. And it depends on the problem you're trying to solve. Sometimes speed is of essence. Being there, out there, solving the problem right away, even if it's not perfect, is the way to go. Sometimes getting the right solution, because it's a one-way door decision, you need to do that. So the trick is in figuring out how to convert these one-way door decisions into two-way door decisions and move fast.
Okay.
As long as you try hard to convert those into a two-way door decisions, then you can move faster. And if it's a one-way door, stop. Get it right the first time.
That was really helpful to know. And there's a lot of discussion about how Gen AI is driving a lot of, not only ease of operating or more intuitiveness or predictability, but how it's transforming different areas. And you've been a big adopter of technology always. And when you look at your function in organization, how are you looking at Gen AI in the space that you operate in?
I think Gen AI has been transformative for us. We are super excited about what we have achieved so far and what we could continue to do. As I said, being the custodians of the customer experience, it's all about finding and fixing defects. So how do you find defects at scale and how do you fix defects at scale? When systems can't do that, you lean in with manual interventions to fix it, right? So that's why we have the headcount investments. And that's not a very exciting work. So our focus has always been to reduce that manual intervention. So with pure tech, we are able to solve all deterministic tasks. And we have been early adopters of LLMs and science. So when it comes to non-deterministic, LLMs and science helps us to figure out the non-deterministic part. So that got us even closer to 80-90% coverage. The last part is where you need to generate new data, right? So that requires human intelligence as well. With Gen AI, we are able to do that, and that's pushing the boundaries even further. That's one part of the story. The other part of the story is the kind of experience we can bring into our customers. A couple of examples I can share with you is, let's say you want to buy a couch, right? Or a seat. Generally, the dimensions is given as the outer dimensions, right? It's so high and the width is so much, the breadth is so much, the height is so much. That's what you would find.
Right.
But for you to know if it's going to be comfortable, you need to know what's the seat depth. You need to know what's the thickness of the cushions or the back. What's the lean on it, right? Those things are not generally available when you go shop for a product. And it's impossible for us to get the data at scale. With Gen AI, now we are able to, given a bounding box, the length, breadth, and height, and the image of the product, we are able to discern all of these and provide these insights. That's one example. The other example would be, let's say you want to buy a helmet, right? What's the right size for your helmet? How do you know? Right now, it says measure your head circumference. It gives you a set of steps that you need to go through and do that. It's not very intuitive. Now we can generate videos without any human intervention that shows how to measure how-to videos can be generated.
So Sridhar, you lead a large team, spread across geographies, across, I would say, even in terms of when you look at Gen Zs in the workforce or people with a lot of experience. How do you build that culture where you're able to get all of the teams together?
Set a bold vision. Make sure you have mechanisms that communicates that bold vision throughout your organization. Align your organization towards your vision through a very compelling set of mission statements. And then drive those mission statements through goals. So it's all about mechanisms that we have, and almost everybody in Amazon does that.
Yeah.
Global organization is culturally diverse. Being able to understand when somebody from a region says something, having the context of why they are saying it is very important. Then you would be able to understand them better, and you would also be able to take their inputs and consume them towards what would give you the best output.
And I think when I look at how when we lead as a leader, and I heard one of the leaders saying, how do you lead beyond your line of sight? And leading beyond your line of sight sometimes is also about, are you listening enough? And what mechanisms, like you mentioned, is how are we listening enough? And how are we ensuring that our vision, our overall communication is, reaching the last line? And the other aspect is also about appreciating the fact that there are different cultures, and being open to create that safe space for them to operate.
Can't agree more. I would amplify what you said. It's, as I said, it's one thing to have that vision and mechanisms to drive it down from your end, but the more important thing is to listen from ground up.
Yeah.
What mechanisms do you have to listen from ground up? We built a tool specifically for this called Discuss. So Discuss is a tool where we, the leadership at RBS, joins a meeting, and the entire organization joins. Whoever wants to join can join. We'll put the topic out there. This is what we are going to discuss today. And you can ask any question, and it's completely anonymous.
Wow.
The anonymity empowers people to ask questions which they would otherwise not want. And we found that to be very enriching in the kind of questions that comes. And there are multiple instances where the questions opened our eyes to dimensions that we had not thought about. Amazon is all about mechanisms. The other thing that you talked about, again, one is listening, the other one is appreciating the cultural nuances that are there. As a leader, you need to know directs and how they operate, and then account for it.
And we have a lot of Gen Z as a population, or a lot of young population now in the workforce. When you look at that particular group of people, do you have any advice, or how do you see that adding both value as well as, how we need to adapt to the ways of working with this new generation that is coming in?
Amazon, our business, right, mandates that we have the required diversity, and Gen Z is a large population that we need to cater to. So having them on board allows us to figure out what they want, how they want it, their experiences, what they prefer. So from one perspective, it helps us better serve our customers. On the other side, that's the future generation. If you're going to build your future leaders, it's going to come from Gen Z.
Yeah.
So you need to start investing, and our organization also has to start imbibing changes so that the new generation is able to help you build your business going forward.
And talking about hiring, and I know, RBS continues to hire across, countries and locations. What are some of the kind of roles that you're hiring for in your teams, and what are one or two things that you specifically look for when you're hiring anybody in your team?
We are looking to hire tech folks, SDEs, and sciences roles. So that's one role, one side we're looking at. And the other side, we are looking to hire business leaders, people who have a penchant to develop deep acumen on the business.
Mm-hmm.
And once you develop the acumen, figure out what the problems are. At the end of the day, if the one thing that I look for and when hiring is, are you a problem solver, right? The world needs problem solvers. We need problem solvers. We need people who are able to figure out stay in the problem space long enough to understand the problem deeply, and then develop compelling solutions that would eliminate the problem. So if you look at the ways of working for us, initially it was automate and become more and more efficient. But over a period of time, we had flipped ourselves to say, when you find a problem, you eliminate it first. That which you cannot eliminate, you try to automate. And that which you cannot try to automate, you optimize. Putting elimination first requires people with a very different mindset. Because it's hard, much harder than automating or optimizing. Optimizing is the easiest, automating is next easiest, eliminating is the hardest. You need to know the entire value stream from top to bottom so that you know where the problem is. Then you have to root cause. After root causing, you have to influence, because it's definitely 99% of the time it's outside your realm of influence, right? So you have to work with partner teams. You need to influence them to take up that charter to solve that problem, to eliminate that problem. And most of the asks come in outside of the OP circle, so which means they're not funded for it, so it becomes another challenge. So your ability to dive deep, identify the problem, root cause, provide a compelling value proposition on why it needs to be eliminated, and influencing leaders, all this makes a good problem solver. And that's what we are looking to hire. Hit me up if you want to work on some really challenging, hairy problems that will push the envelope and test you to the core.
So we'll move on to, leadership style. Do you have any specific leadership style, or you want to talk about that?
My leadership style is what's termed as servant leadership style. The essence of it is I exist to help my team succeed. So that's the gist of it. So what does my team need from me to help them succeed?
Yeah.
And that's what I follow as my mantra. In hindsight, I think it is a bold, compelling vision that your team can rally around, and empowering your team to go after it. And you step back and see them succeed and help them succeed.
Right.
Once that's done, then you let them figure out how to do it, and then help or step in when needed. By default, Amazon hires extremely competent people. So trust them to do it.
Yeah.
And step out of their way and be available to them when needed. That's how I scale.
Thank you, Sridhar. That was really insightful. Now, for our next segment, I want to invite a fellow Amazonian who is also the president of the Amazon PWD Affinity Group, Mrunmayee Abrol. Mrunmayee is a para-athlete having won multiple medals at prestigious national and international competitions. Her recent accomplishment includes representing India at the 2023 World Para-Athletics Championship and the Italian Grand Prix. Despite sustaining a life-changing spinal cord injury, Mrunmayee's determination has only grown stronger. Today, she thrives as a Senior Manager External Affairs, Amazon India, applying her creativity and expertise. Welcome to Amazon Unplugged, Mrunmayee.
Thanks, Rajiv. It's great to be part of this Unplugged session.
We would like to know a little about your background, your story, and then how did Amazon happen to you?
So I've lived around 30 years of my life without a disability. Like any able-bodied person, I was very active physically, participated in car rallies and so on. But around 13 years back, I was part of a road accident. I was traveling with my dad when a truck hit us, and I got a spinal cord injury in my neck despite wearing a seat belt. And a spinal cord injury in neck means my brain is not able to communicate with my body below the shoulders. So it's actually 90% paralysis of the body. Now, when I was in the hospital, the doctor told my dad that she's going to be on the bed for her entire life. But thankfully, because of my friends, we found out about the Indian Spinal Injury Center in Delhi. That's where I went for rehab for around 8-9 months. And I learned about life hacks. A spinal cord injury is permanent. So we have to learn about how to live life despite the disability. And coming to my professional life, I've always been in technology, public relations. Technology is a very big passion for me. So I was part of a PR agency earlier, and I've worked in evangelizing different types of technologies. Even when the internet was new, I was working with a browser company, and my role was to just evangelize how to use the internet. And I think that's what was my stepping stone into the world of Amazon. There was a role in the devices team. At that time, it was just Fire TV and Kindle. So I thought, why not? But only after I joined, I got to know that the job is for Alexa. And at that time, Alexa was not even launched. And I thought I'm like a perfect candidate to evangelize Alexa because I depend so much on technology and voice to get things done at home. So for the last 7 years, I've been evangelizing Alexa and Echo Smart speakers in India. And I've grown my career in Amazon from being an individual contributor to a team leader. And just last month, I switched role in Amazon as India leader for external affairs for customer trust.
Well, thank you, Mrunmayee, for sharing that. That was really inspiring. So, Sridhar, my next question is to you. As the sponsor for Amazon PWD Affinity Group, what does the group do and what is your involvement and how do you drive some of the work?
This is a area that I'm super passionate about, and it's completely driven through a volunteer group. So we have volunteers from 5 VP organizations that are trying to drive inclusive PWD inclusion in Amazon, and we have multiple work streams. So we focus on hiring, training, retaining, and helping PWD grow within Amazon. Each of it is driven by a PWD leader, and we had been able to make some really good strides in the last couple of years.
Could you share, some of the examples of how we are making it easier for us to include, people with disability within Amazon?
I think both of us can answer, but Mrunmayee, why don't you go and then I'll lead off of you.
Thanks, Sridhar. So I'll talk from the PWD Affinity Group perspective. So like Sridhar mentioned, it's a volunteer group. So we have people with disabilities as well as allies who want to contribute in making Amazon an inclusive place, a part of the Affinity Group. Some of the activities we do to increase inclusion is raise the profile of PWD Amazonians so that others can see that, hey, there are people with disabilities contributing equally to the business of Amazon, right? And Amazon has hired people across disabilities, from autism to ADHD to physical disabilities to vision disabilities, hearing disabilities, and it's a very long tail of disabilities that we cover. So it's important for people to see that people with disabilities are equally passionate and involved and be a regular part of Amazon. Another thing we do is organize sessions like fireside chats, etc. This is basically to demystify the world of disabilities. What a disability is, what are the limitations, what can we do. But otherwise, there are a lot of myths associated with what PWD can do and cannot do. So these sessions help to demystify myths that hiring managers or peers might have, How do I assess a PWD employee?
Right.
How do I approach a PWD colleague? Can I help them or not? Address these basic questions. Can I ask them about their disability or not? So we try to demystify myths. And another last thing I'd like to highlight is we try to build a safe space or a community of people with disabilities. So we host monthly town halls where PWDs come together and share their experiences. So this helps us to become a voice of customer at internal forums with leadership and other sessions.
To add to that, I think we look at it in being inclusive, right? So the first one is we want to drive inclusivity across all levels, right? From entry level to the leadership, we want to be able to have adequate inclusive representation on PWDs. The second one is we want to make sure that we provide all the required support, be it accessibility in terms of physical accessibility to our buildings, to our to all the tools that we have, to all the work that they need to do. Make sure that we are providing everything that's needed to help them succeed. The third one is allyship. Mrinmay touched on it as well. It's very important that we help people understand how they can be allies. So being sure that we are using the right terminology, making sure that person is comfortable, understanding who is coming in and what support they need. So that's on the hiring. That one part of it. The second part of it is sensitizing the manager on what and why and how. And then the team, once they come on board, sensitizing the team and their teammates on what they need to do to become supporters and allies. Our goal is to ensure that A, we are inclusive, and B, the entire organization understands and brings in the culture of inclusivity.
And as a president of the PWD Affinity Group, are there 2 or 3 big areas that you're trying to solve for, and what are those focus areas for you and your teams?
Although Amazon is like way ahead in terms of PWD inclusion, we have different teams like disability accommodation team, which helps in providing workplace accommodations. For example, I have an accommodation where I can travel with a caretaker because I need assistance with daily living activities. Similarly, every disability requirement is different. So we work with the accommodations team, and the requirements could be very varied, and the disability accommodations team need to assess them at every level. So we try to work with them to educate them about what different requirements are. So that's one area of supporting PWD candidates. And second is our vision is we want to be more inclusive at retaining more PWD candidates. To taking their feedback and cascading it to leadership and the PX3 team, etc. So that how we can make the workplace more inclusive for them, so that we have like a long tail of PWD colleagues there.
And Sridhar, do you have any long-term vision for as a sponsor for this group?
I think our goal is for Amazon to be the most inclusive place, both in terms of the representation, actual representation, and the environment for our people, for PWDs to not just bring them in, but to shine and thrive and grow. And I think it's very important because at the end of the day, we look at customer obsession, and if we don't understand our customers well, how are we going to solve this problem? So that's our long-term vision, to be the best organization in the world in being inclusive for PWD employees.
Thank you so much, Mrinmay, for joining us for this session. It was truly inspiring to hear from you in the work that you and your teams are doing and how you're continuing to aspire and inspire a lot of people around.
Thank you for having me, Rajiv.
So Sridhar, we've reached the last segment. In the first part of that, we will show you some pictures, and we would like to know, what rings the bell when you look at those pictures, and what do you recollect?
Okay.
Let's look at the first picture.
Hey, this is a very proud moment for us when we won the DoorDesk Award given out by Andy in Munich this year. And this is a two-peat for us. This year it was for a product called CAMP, Customer Anecdote Miner. And last year we won it for Sherlock. It's a very proud moment for me and my team, and thank you for surfacing this.
And 2 back-to-back DoorDesk, it's a big deal.
It is.
And for all of those who don't know what DoorDesk Award is, it is one of the highest and the most coveted award. Do look up to what that means. Let's look at the next one.
This is a CSR initiative. There is a school that we painted for kids. It's a school run by the Tamil Nadu Police Department, and we went and painted the walls. Thoroughly enjoyed doing it.
And did you see a lot of happy faces after that?
Very happy faces, the kids, and we had an opportunity to interact with those kids and thoroughly enjoyed it.
Okay, the last one.
This one is about the Amazon future engineers. I was talking to a whole class of students and encouraging them on what are the kind of career paths they can look at for and how to invest themselves in those career paths. And It's a very young crowd, and we were talking to them about what all the kind of opportunities that they can explore, not just at Amazon, but overall. And another area where I had the most fun talking to kids.
Okay, wonderful. We'll move to the next one now. It is a rapid fire. And I'm going to ask you some questions and would like to know your first response within the first 3 seconds.
Okay.
If you were not doing what you are doing currently, what would you be doing?
I would love to, and I still would do someday, go teach. My sweet spot are probably targeting the 11th and 12th graders, because there's a lot of help that comes from the college, but that's an area where the foundation is laid.
Interesting. Thank you. Is there a particular hobby that you're deeply invested in?
Very deeply invested in aquariums, vivariums, paludariums. So that's something that I love. And my home is a mini zoo of sorts.
And is there a personal mantra or motto that you live by?
Yes, this is something deep and resonates with me when I was in my early 20s. And then I read a book which said, figure out what you want to be written on your epitaph and live your life like that.
Wow, that's deep. Did you figure out what would you want on your epitaph?
I want my epitaph to read, here lies a man who gave more than he took.
Wow, very deep. Okay, if you have to pick between one or the other, coffee or tea,
Coffee?
you're a morning person or a night owl?
I used to be a morning person, but given my current work schedule, now I'm a night owl.
Okay. Books or movies?
Movies? Used to be books, now it's movies. Again, it's changed.
Okay. And if you were to given a choice between visiting a heritage site or a science museum?
Hard to pick. I would do both.
I thought you would say science, given how much you've used that throughout.
It is, but I truly believe in learning about our different cultures. So wherever I go, given an opportunity to visit a heritage museum, I would do that.
Okay. Thank you, Sridhar. That was really fun. And before we let you go, we have a small gift for you from Amazon Small Business, from the Karigar. And this is a gift by women artisans who have made it. Here you go.
Thank you very much. Super excited about this. Really appreciate it, Rajiv.
Thank you so much. Thank you for joining us today. I really enjoyed my conversation with Sridhar and learning from him. A lot of things resonated as he spoke about his entrepreneurial journey and some of the lessons he got within Amazon. I also was very inspired by Mrunmay's journey and some of the insights she shared. I would love to hear from you. What in particular did you learn and did you really enjoy? Let us know about your thoughts in comments, and we would love to know more about what in particular did resonate with you. You can hear Amazon Unplugged at Amazon Music, Spotify, and all of the other channels that you consume your podcast on. Thank you so much.